Are you ready to finally make that dream a reality? Maybe it's updating your kitchen, paying down high-interest credit cards, or covering tuition. Your home is more than where you live. It's also your most powerful asset. At Unlock, we make it simple to turn equity into options. With a home equity agreement, you can access cash today without taking on monthly payments. Imagine the freedom to invest in your home, reduce financial stress, or finally start that big project you've been putting off. It's your home. It's your future. Unlock it today. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.
Welcome back to Come Back with a Warrant. I'm Monica Ishak.
And I'm Brandon Dinitz. Last week we told you how we went from courtroom rivals to podcast hosts.
This week we're taking you inside the decision to become a criminal defense attorney, the stuff we actually deal with, clients, courtroom, and chaos.
Some of it's hilarious, some of it's terrifying, all of it's true.
And like always, this podcast is not legal advice. It's real, unfiltered, and for entertainment only. If you need to speak with a lawyer, call one, or better yet, call us.
All right. Welcome back. It's so nice to be here with you again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always love being here.
Always a pleasure. And that intro music is badass every time.
Yes. I love it. I'm a fan.
Yeah, me too. I vibe with it every time we get going. So we're back with you again today. Today, we're going to be talking about the decisions to become a criminal defense attorney. We're going to talk about what people get wrong about being criminal defense attorneys. And at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about some trending stories in the news that are related to criminal defense. So we'll get to that also.
Yeah.
But kick us off, Monica, from the top.
We did talk a little bit about your journey to criminal defense in the first episode, but I think there's more to that. So before we talk about myself and how I got here, let's talk about your transition, because obviously you were a former prosecutor, which is the point here, you know.
Well, yeah, obviously. It's one of the points of the whole podcast, the show. Yeah. I took a path where I started my career at the state attorney's office, and I knew that ultimately what I wanted to do was criminal defense. I knew from a very early age that I wanted to do this job. That's a combination of having some people in my family life that went through some criminal law issues, and I saw them interact with the criminal defense attorney, just TV and movies growing up. It made me want to be a courtroom trial attorney, but specifically do criminal defense because it's, let's be clear, it's the sexiest part of the law. It's the best part of the law.
Yeah.
So I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And when I was in law school, I spoke to a professor of mine about the path that I needed to take. And I had already spent the summers interning for a criminal defense attorney, and I didn't know exactly what to do. This person put me in touch with a pretty prominent criminal defense attorney in Broward County. And that person told me if I wanted to find myself in a position where I was representing people eventually, the best way to start would be at the state attorney's office. And the best place to do that was in Palm Beach County. So I applied to the state attorney's office in Palm Beach County and was lucky enough to get the job. And I knew that my time there was going to be spent learning and understanding how prosecutors do their job, understanding specifically how that office makes decisions with, you know, how far to prosecute people or how lenient to be or what type of discretion you have. I knew that I would get the experience of being in front of a different judge constantly, and I knew that I would have trial experience.
Yeah.
All of those were things that were true, and they were, you know, they're invaluable to my career. And after spending 4 years prosecuting cases and doing exactly what I wanted to do in that job, I left and made the the switch and switched over to representing people.
And you've been doing this now for years now, like I think longer.
I've been a criminal defense attorney longer than I was a prosecutor. I've been a criminal defense attorney for 6 years.
Yeah.
And 5-6 years. And I was a prosecutor for a little under 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time flies. That's so crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got a great opportunity out right when I left the state attorney's office to go and work at a criminal defense firm. And I did that and then switched and transitioned and opened up BD Law. And I've had that for the past just almost a year. And that's, I am very lucky to say that I did what I wanted to do. What I wanted to be when I was a kid, I got to grow up to do. And now, in addition to being a dad, I get to be a criminal defense attorney. It's very cool. It's very rewarding. And I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And you also talked about how you told me, and I mentioned before, but you were in theater, which.
Yes, I was a theater kid growing up. People that know me personally know that and love to rip on me for it. But I was in shows and musical theater in high school. And yeah, it was very, very cool. And all of that gave me what I have today. My ability to perform in a courtroom has been built on a foundation that was being a theater kid. So,
can you give me more about how, because I'm interested and I'm like, maybe I should do some improv or something.
Some acting.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, being in theater, you're taught to position yourself in certain ways, to project in certain ways, to interact with an audience in certain ways. And if you can transition that into a career, which I have been lucky enough to do, you need a career that allows you to, there's not a lot of careers that'll give you the tools, that platform.
Yeah.
And being a criminal defense attorney, being a trial lawyer, when I can be in front of a jury, I'm relying on a lot of the things that I learned as a kid. I'm how to project, how to talk to them, how to change the tone in my voice. And, I would like to say how to be, charming at times, how to be angry at times, how to be, it gave me a very strong foundation to be a criminal defense attorney. And I think whether it's debate in high school or theater, those are the types of things that will give a foundation for being a trial lawyer.
Yeah, it will prepare you for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially because I had the experience where I wanted to go into criminal defense, but I was scared of public speaking. I was scared of trial. So when I got to law school and I did trial ad, I was whispering in court. I was fake court, obviously, but I was scared shitless. I was did not have, and some people were naturals. People just got up there and did an opening and maybe the opening made no sense. Who cares at the time? But they performed it or they did it well. And I was how do I get there? I don't know if I can do criminal defense because I really was so scared of public speaking or being kind of on the stage in that sense. So even just practicing being kind of the center of attention in a way.
Portraying confidence.
Yeah.
The name of the game in, I think, most careers and most areas of life is the ability to convey confidence.
Yeah.
I think I have a strong ability to do that. I like to, and I am confident, and there's something behind that. I am confident in what I'm doing. If you can convey confidence, that's the most effective way to communicate with people. That's the most effective way to get change. That's the most effective way to present in front of somebody. And whether that's talking to other lawyers, talking to judges, talking to juries, talking to clients, you have to be able to convey that confidence. And that is, whether I'm actually as confident on the inside as I'm portraying is a different story.
Yeah.
There's that fake it till you make it. I mean, half of this job is imposter syndrome. So,
especially starting out, when you're in the beginning, you're I've practiced in school or whatever, for me at least, but I was I don't know. You saw my first trial. I was it
wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. Definitely not my best, but there's always a starting point.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, the confidence part of what you're saying is so true because people see through that. Like people can see when you don't really believe in what you're saying. Like if you're not saying things with conviction, and if you're defending somebody that's facing any sort of jail time, even if it's 60 days, you know, you need to be able to like be confident or show that you're confident in whatever you're saying, you know, and there's nothing worse than like having your lawyer being up there and like being like, I don't know what to say, or like I'm, you know, being feeling scared, but like imagine how your client's feeling, you know?
I hear horror stories all the time. There's a situation that I'm aware of in Broward County right now where an individual is being represented by the public defender, and he's having an unfortunately stereotypical time being represented by the public defender. His case has been passed over a bunch of times. There's not a lot of work being done. It's the unfortunate side of having a government lawyer appointed. The reason that I bring that up is that's a situation where he has an attorney that is not portraying confidence, that goes in front of a judge, that tries to get a bond hearing or tries to get something done, and they're stammering, they're afraid, they're not doing what they need to do, and he's getting nothing.
Yeah.
He's not getting a judge that's responsive. Part of portraying confidence, it's as a criminal defense attorney, you have to be able to speak to your clients effectively, and you have to be able to tell them really the way it is, because you're not always giving the advice. You're not always giving them what they, want to hear. You need to be able to do that, and you need to be able to stand behind the recommendations you make or the advice that you give. And you got to be confident to do that. When you're addressing the court, it's the same way.
Yeah.
You can't, you can't be unsure or stammer, or you need to have it together.
Yeah.
And that's thinking on your feet sometimes, because you're getting questions that you may not have been prepared for. And that goes back to, how did you learn? How did you train? Whether it's mock trial or theater or whatever it is, that gives you those, how do I do this? How do I react?
Yeah.
That all plays in.
You definitely need to like practice for trial, not like actually before the trial that you're doing, but because like I remember like, and it's so funny, like thinking of things I used to do as like a new lawyer. I used to like drive to work saying my opening, and like now I'm like, I could never do that. That would give me so much anxiety, because like I have now the practice and the experience to just deliver an opening after I prepare it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I do an outline, and I'll just like review it a few times. I know my case inside and out, but before it was like I needed to be this like lawyer that knew every word that was on my paper, and like I needed to have my paper up there. I needed to be at the podium, and that was because I didn't really trust myself to lawyer.
Yeah.
So like thinking back, I'm like, oh my God, like that's so cringy.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's, everything is stylistic, and everything is, especially, talk about performance. It's interesting because when you're in front of a jury or you're in front of an audience, if they don't know that you're making a mistake, they don't know that you made a mistake.
Yes.
Only you know that you made a mistake.
Yes.
If you forget a line in a script, only you know you forgot that line in the script.
Exactly.
Maybe other people on stage do. Maybe other people at your counsel table know. All about adapting.
Yeah.
Being able to adapt on your feet and keep going.
Yes.
And also being human enough to know if you make a mistake, to be able to backtrack and fix that mistake,
Acknowledge
and then
it.
pick up where you left off. That's what makes you effective in the courtroom or as a communicator in general.
Yeah. And I think the shift for me was when I was like, okay, instead of just trying to be this robotic lawyer, the lawyer that I think that I need to be, or that people expect me to be, I should just be me. You know what I mean? And that made it so like the pressure just like lifted. Like I was like, okay, all I need to do is just know my case, like I don't really need to have every word memorized. And like being able to acknowledge, like one time, I don't know if I think actually maybe this trial was with you. It was a DUI, and I was like pretending to do the heel to toe, and I actually tripped like on accident. I wasn't trying to do that as like part of my closing, but my point was that, those tasks are not built to check if somebody's sober or not.
Correct.
And, I tripped, and I was like so embarrassed. But then like the learning moment for me was that like I should just like acknowledge, like it's fine, like I make a joke about it or something. Like Jurors
Yeah,
are.
you show how difficult it is even when you're sober to do it. Right.
I'm definitely not drinking on the trial.
Right, exactly. You're not drinking during the middle of the trial, so you could say it was clearly as difficult to do.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
being able to like acknowledge and be like, oh, well, whatever, you know, because jurors are human. They need to connect with you. And like, if they're just seeing you as this robotic lawyer that is just like wanting to be this perfect person, like they're going to be like, who's this inauthentic, like fake robotic lawyer? I feel like there's definitely a shift with jurors when they like that. You can tell when they like the lawyer, which like obviously they're instructed that
not
you
to
should
like the lawyer. Correct.
that it shouldn't come into play.
Right.
But I think it doesn't come into play in that sense, but I think it comes into play with connection and what you say. And like, if they do like you, they will listen to you, and they should listen to, hopefully you want them to listen to you and what you're saying and your arguments and your questions and all those things. So I think that does kind of come into play at some points, and it should when it comes to like connection. But obviously if it's just like, oh, I like that lawyer's outfit better, then that's something different.
I will say a quick anecdote, a quick story. I was a prosecutor. I was prosecuting a DUI case, and there was a judge, a retired judge from New York that would come and watch our trials. Her name is Judge Snyder. Shout out to Judge Snyder. She would come and watch trials, and she would give feedback to the young prosecutors about how they were doing, how their style, how effective they were, really give extensive feedback from someone that has a lot of experience. You know, she's a retired judge. She would come and watch a lot of my trials, and it was always a privilege because she would always speak about, you know, she would tell me the things that she liked and the things that she didn't really like. And she always had great feedback for me. She came to watch this one DUI trial, and I had gotten up during the trial and I was cross-examining the defendant. And that's so infrequent in misdemeanor court to have a prosecutor cross-examining a defendant, but that's what was happening. And I was, you know, chomping at the bit. I took advantage of it. I was super aggressive. And one thing that when I work with trial students now that I tell them now is, you don't be an asshole until the jury gives you permission.
Yeah.
You don't be disrespectful to a witness. You don't act overly aggressive, because the jury's either going to think it's fake or they're going to think it's unwarranted.
Yeah.
I was really aggressive. It wasn't warranted.
Yeah.
And I was just very aggressive on this one witness. I kept questioning him really hard, and I was just trying to make it seem like, you know, this guy had committed this DUI and it was so clear, blah, blah, blah. I asked some questions. They were so effective. I was done asking the questions, and I start walking back, and Judge Snyder, who's in the back of the courtroom, waves me over. And I walked back to her, and she said, "You know, you're not trying a homicide, right?" And I got it. I said, "Yeah, okay." I was a little bit excited there in my cross-examination. So I then took into account, you know, the human side of what was going on. This guy had no criminal record other than this case. He, by all accounts, was not a bad guy.
No,
It was a DUI. And I had just gone after him, you know, way too aggressively on cross-examination. So during the closing arguments, I made it a point to walk up to the jury box, put my hands on the jury box, and say, you know, ladies and gentlemen, while I was cross-examining the defendant, I got a little excited. I got a little out of hand, and I got overly aggressive and caught up in the moment. And that happens. And, you know, we're all human, but I in no way think that this guy is a bad individual. I think that he did commit a crime, and I'm going to show you what that crime was and how he committed it. But I can leave my own theatrics out of it.
Yeah.
And I remember saying that to them, and, you know, the case ended. I don't even remember if we won or lost. I have no idea. But I remember the judge saying to me after, she had never seen anybody do anything like that, where I was a human being. I said to the jury, I was overly aggressive and overly excited as a prosecutor, and I'm a human being too. And, you know, but I don't need to be, and I don't want you to take away from the credibility of my case because of it.
Right.
And that's what it all boils down to. But you can be a human being in trial and in front of a jury, and it all comes down to being able to adapt and perform the right way.
Yeah, exactly. And every time it's a learning lesson, even though you had all the tools like leading up to that point, and you were probably a great trial attorney at that point.
Thank you.
You
baby
still,
attorney.
Yeah. But you still had lessons to learn. That's why I said, like, I do believe, like, even when we are at our best, there's always more things we can improve on. So especially as trial lawyers, because there's always things going down in trial that you're like, I wasn't expecting that.
That's a lot of trial is things that happen and you just were not expecting, because you can prepare and plan as much as possible, but there are certain things that happen, certain things get said, and you're just like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. You wouldn't, and certain times, like the rulings too, you're just like, oh, you're so confident that like you'll be, the judge won't even entertain that type of request or that motion. And then it's granted and you're like, wait, what? Like I'd case law to show otherwise.
Comes back to confidence, because there are circumstances where you may not be completely right, but you are super confident that you're right, and you get a call in your favor during the trial, like take it and run. Like, if it's appealable, that's a whole other issue, but that's not, that's a different podcast. Yes. That's not this show. We don't do appeals.
Yes, exactly.
Nothing against appellate attorneys. I know some great ones.
Yeah. Yeah. We need them in our life. They're actually the ones that make sure that we do our job correctly. So, I know we talked a lot about trial, but this episode is more about why we chose to defend and do criminal defense. Mm-hmm. My journey is definitely, I guess I would say it is kind of personal too, because I went into law school wanting to be a criminal defense attorney, but I didn't, like I said, want to be like on stage. But let me backtrack. The reason why I was even interested in criminal defense was because I was in college and I didn't know like what I wanted to do with my life. And I just put on the O.J. Simpson trial and on YouTube, and I was like, that is so badass. Like, how cool is that? Because I thought he was definitely guilty.
Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, like that's so crazy. So I was like, I kind of want to do something badass. So that to me was criminal defense. So I was like, let me sign myself up for law school. And
the trial of the century, the pinnacle trial that everybody references when they're like, this isn't that trial.
Yes.
That's the one that made you want to jump in and do it.
I mean, kudos to Johnny Cochran and his defense team, because that's the reason, but I ended up actually, ironically, right before I got into law school, right before I started law school, I was already accepted. I was moving to Miami. And during this time in my life, like, the summer before law school is like so fun. I feel like I was doing nothing with my time, like just traveling, like doing whatever I wanted, I had no responsibilities. And I was in a relationship, and the person I was in a relationship with got arrested. And that was like a whole like other experience, because I was like, what are the odds that this is like what I'm pursuing, and this is the person I'm in a relationship with gets arrested. And
what was it for?
Oh my God.
Can you tell us what it was for?
I really don't. It is, for me, it's kind of embarrassing.
Okay. Whatever.
But it was a serious felony.
Oh, okay.
It was a really serious felony. And it was out of another state, and he was in Florida visiting me for my graduation. And he ended up getting going through the whole extradition process.
No way.
I had to hire my family, and I had to seek counsel, and I was involved. I was like at first appearance. And I was like, what are the odds? Like, I had no idea. I had nothing, I didn't know anything.
Wow.
So that was kind of, it wasn't like the reason I was already pursuing it, but it was just also kind of like, it was just odd to me that happened at that time. And then when I went into law school, I think it was just kind of my like that push I needed, because I think I really would have backed out of criminal defense if I didn't have that experience, because of
Did you
my
stay
fear.
with him for the whole case?
No, like when We broke up shortly after, not because of that.
When you realized he did it, you were like, I'm out.
No. Did not hold that against him. But it was more so, that relationship was meant to be over. Anyways, don't want to talk too much about that. He could be listening. No, I'm just kidding. I doubt he is, but you never know.
Come back with a warrant.
They did have a warrant.
Yeah, okay.
I was like, yikes.
There you go.
But anyways, I ended up getting into law school and actually trying trial ad and, doing all these things. And my friend who ended up becoming a prosecutor was the one that really encouraged me. She was like, you need to sign up for trial ad. And like, if you're interested, you need to like be serious about it. And thank God for her, because I think I would have been like, no, I'm good. I'll take negotiations.
Yeah.
And then, I ended up starting at the PD's, like things just like, it was just like a building block for me. Like each thing was a building block and
falls into place.
Yeah. Led me to where I am now. So in the PD's office, I've already talked about how great of an experience that was. Which I think they also, in Palm Beach at least, I don't want to talk for other offices, and in Miami, they're a great office too. They definitely prepared me to be like the best criminal defense lawyer I could be. I think they're all great attorneys over there. So,
are you the first lawyer in your family?
I am a first-gen lawyer.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me too.
And I think
but now there's a bunch now, because my wife is a lawyer, and then my first cousin is a lawyer in New York. So my sister-in-law, brother-in-law, we got a bunch of lawyers.
But it's still different because you're all still kind of like the same generation.
Right.
But when you have someone that comes before you and is an attorney, I really think that gives you like kind of a head start in a good way. Like you have more perspective on the career. And like, I really didn't understand how important it was to be even involved in like bar organizations or like, being a part of the legal community and all these things. Like I feel like those are things like just kind of common knowledge that you would have before getting into it. So I think it's comes with a lot of challenges being a first-gen lawyer.
I think there's a lot of misconceptions about being criminal defense attorneys to begin with, and we could probably spend an entire episode talking about that. But the truth is, the question that comes up is, how do you represent the bad guy? And I have never looked at it that way at all.
Yeah.
The majority of the clients that I have never been in trouble before, are people like you and me. They could be professionals. A lot of them are professionals, have hardworking people, parents, grandparents, that find themselves in a situation where they, for the first time, are in trouble. I can't tell you how many of my clients call me and tell me, in the 60 years of my life, in the 50 years of my life, in the 70 years of my life, I've ever been in trouble. I've always avoided. And they're the ones that are my clients. They're not the bad guys. Okay. They are the defendant. They are accused of committing a crime, but they're not the bad guys. They're the people that are in the worst possible situation, need the most amount of help. And I want to be one of the people that do that and provide that help for them.
Yeah. Well, and also that's I think one group of people that get arrested. There's also other people where I think that there's like a lot of trauma in certain communities. And this is what I was exposed to as a public defender. And
course.
I'm sure you saw it from a different point of view, but you definitely saw it as a prosecutor, where it's like, people come from certain communities and they either are struggling with substance abuse issues, mental health issues, or, they're always in fight or flight mode, or all of them, like there's just so many circumstances that like come into play and into people's like decision making, and just certain people do not have the tools and are not taught. And this is not an excuse for their behavior. It's an explanation. And I always say that, like, when people are like, how can you represent somebody, they did it, or they committed murder and that they did, like, it's like, first of all, there is actually, let me not say there isn't one probable cause affidavit, but there are so many times where I read a police report and I'm like, first of all, I doubt this is exactly what happened. And usually it's not exactly what happened. And then when I speak to my client, it's always something that, even if they made a bad decision, it's always something that I'm like, I see how you got there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say every single time, but a lot of times, it's like, it wasn't the right decision at the time, and hindsight's always 2020, and like some people are regretful, some people aren't, whatever it is. But then you look back and you're like, I guess like considering like if you don't know any better, you're not going to do any better. So and at the PD's office, that really like that was like almost all my cases. You know, I didn't really have there were a handful of people that were like first time getting arrested and they were like 60 years old, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm not saying the majority of my clients are first time 60-year-olds, but I understand there's a significant, if you are at a disadvantage because of your socioeconomic standing.
Yeah.
And you are coming into the criminal justice system at an early age.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you get looped into a vicious cycle of
That's
getting
so
in
real.
trouble, owing money to the court, or having probation terms that you're not able to complete. And then you now have a new issue that arises because the money you owe suspends your license and you get a suspended license case. And now that's open and that violates your probation, or you have had prior, small prior offenses, prior traffic offenses that now are adding up to a jail sentence or suspending your license. And then you're trapped in that cycle. There are so many people that lose their license and are unable to carry on with their lives because they can't drive. So even though they don't have a license, they're still driving and they're picking up new charges, which are new fines, and it's new types of suspensions on their license. And it just, it's a door that doesn't close. When I was a prosecutor and would see that happening, I did what I could to try to break it up. If there was a way to do it, I would try to break it up. Yeah. And there are ways. There are, whether it's offering a lesser sentence, whether it's modifying the charges, or it's taking it, looking at the case and saying, hey, at this point, the right thing to do here is probably give this guy some sort of lesser sentence or a lesser charge because he doesn't have the ability to pay to get out of this situation. So even if I want to just drop the charges, if there's still some fine that's associated with it, that's still something that people get stuck with. And that's a vicious cycle that people get caught up with. Yeah.
And that's something that would be out of the prosecutor's hands, like costs and stuff are like not, they're associated with statutes. That's not something you can change, so that's always something that you can keep in mind, but not necessarily something you can change.
Right. So there are, a group of people that get unfortunately thrown into the criminal justice system and can't get out of it. And, they're trapped. And we'll throughout this show, we'll talk about different cases and different examples of things like that. So I know we'll get into that in due time. Yeah.
And there's also like the aspect of like, everybody deserves a defense, right? Everybody deserves, like if a family member or even myself ends up in a situation where my clients are, I would hope that my attorney is fighting like hell despite whether I did it or not, So like it's having that and that's something I really noticed between criminal and civil is like in criminal you really can say, because we have a lot of defenses or things associated with the Constitution that civil practice does not necessarily, Mm-hmm. So like the Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, all these things that come into play. And if you put that out there in the courtroom, I think that's something in criminal court everybody respects. Maybe we might not agree that that's a constitutional issue in this specific case, but once the defense files any sort of motion or makes any sort of constitutional violation claim, everybody entertains it because that's something that is so serious, it will come back on appeal.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and it really made me see a perspective of like, okay, like this is really where I belong too, because I was like, I felt like I was no offense to civil attorneys, because they really are, I think that if they're doing it, they're built for it, but I am not. I'm like, I need to be doing something that's fulfilling for me. Mm-hmm. So that was another aspect of it that I was like, okay, like I really do like that we may not always agree, but at least we all respect what it is that we are abiding by. And it's like we all strive to, hopefully we all strive to, which I've noticed, most prosecutors will. They're not going to disregard your motion to suppress, You know what I
Right.
mean? They're not gonna be like,
Right.
oh, I'm not worried about that. Like, no, they're gonna call, there's usually a phone call before it's actually set up in court or you're scheduled for court. It's usually we're talking about it,
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think that's also important.
Yeah, having that zealous representation and that being able to have somebody advocate for you, there's a reason why it's a constitutional right,
Yeah.
and it's so important.
So
And,
important.
The work that we do for our clients is so important because we are upholding those rights and protecting those rights, and that's one of the things that makes our jobs great and makes this country great, that we have those rights in place.
Yeah. And then also the fact that, the burden of proof is so high in criminal court
Mm-hmm.
that I think that there is a difference between whether someone actually did it and if they're found guilty.
Correct.
And it has to do with the evidence, not what we secretly know at defense table.
Well, the question that we get all the time is, how do you defend somebody that did it, or that they're guilty, and or do you ask your clients whether or not they did it?
I never do.
I couldn't give two shits because that's not. Well, I wouldn't go that far.
If it's a self-defense case
Correct,
or something,
that's different. But honestly, the name of the game is what the state attorney's office is able to prove.
Yeah.
That's what this is going to come down to. So whether or not my clients did it or didn't do it,
I don't care.
I don't care.
No.
And I also don't have any judgment against them for doing it or not doing it.
No.
I don't care. What I care about is the proof there that the amount of jurors will unanimously agree that beyond a reasonable doubt, the state attorney's office has met each and every element of the charges that they are bringing.
Yeah.
Can they do that? If the answer is no, and I believe it's no, and often I do, then I fight like hell.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
It really doesn't matter
Yeah.
if they did it or not.
But
in terms of, how the system is set up as well, like there is this, and I love that I was a public defender. I wear it like a badge of honor. So I don't really ever talk shit about them.
Mhm.
But obviously people have their own experiences with PDs, and, sometimes they call my office and we end up having a conversation. But I think that's usually, especially if it's in this county, it's the exceptions, not the rule. Like, I do believe that office, and that's because of my own experience, so, but there is kind of this perception and stereotype that, not everybody kind of gets the same shot in the system as, other people who may be arrested and they have another attorney.
right. But there's also a difference between having a private attorney and having a public defender. I mean, the ability to afford an attorney gives you certain advantages over having a public defender. It doesn't give you an advantage necessarily over the quality of the attorney or the quality of the representation, but it may give you an advantage in terms of, a private lawyer is less busy than a public defender, and they can devote more time to phone calls with the client or time spent specifically on that case.
Yeah.
Sure, there are those types of advantages, but that doesn't take away from the advocacy and the person that's ultimately the lawyer that's ultimately
Exactly.
in place. If often I went against public defenders that were much better than private attorneys.
I was just going to ask you, as a prosecutor, did you notice a difference?
Often. And the truth, in Palm Beach County, there is an excellent criminal defense bar. The private attorneys are excellent, I think, for the most part. And the public defender's office was really good. So it's difficult to say in that county. But I will tell you, there were times where I would be in trial against a public defender, and I found them to be better than some of the private attorneys.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is just because the private attorneys, just like, now, I'm not in trial all the time, and I'm not constantly in front of the same judge, and I'm not as polished necessarily as somebody that is in front of the same judge every day, as multiple trials, a month in front of that judge. That's different. That's a different level of being sharp. And when you're a prosecutor or a public defender in a specific courtroom, you get that level. but there's still the disadvantages, and also the public defenders and the state attorney's office. You work a certain number of hours, and that's that.
Yes.
Okay. There's no overtime.
No.
So the private criminal defense attorney, I've made jokes, and I made jokes on this show. My phone is always on, and it really is always on. I could be working, it's a 24-hour job.
It is.
And that's something that's different than a public defender, because my clients can reach me at 9:00 at night.
Yes.
And I don't know most public defenders that can be reached by their clients at 9:00 at night. It's just not a thing.
No. And they're not getting paid to do it.
Correct.
So that's real. I think it really depends on who it is that you're dealing with and who the attorney, how they practice law, because obviously if they choose to take more cases on in private practice, then they might be just as overworked as the PD, but which I've had experience with.
So one other thing that we, obviously on this show, we're going to talk a lot about the criminal law profession and ourselves and different things that, our experiences and, all along that line. One of the other things we're going to talk about is current events and trending stories and topics that are in the news.
Yeah.
So one thing that I wanted to talk about that just came up, and I don't know if people have heard about this story yet, but Celsius, there's an issue with Celsius and High Noon. There's a recall notice that was posted by the Food and Drug Administration that High Noon has said an unspecified number of its beach variety packs contain cans that are filled with High Noon vodka seltzer. So what this means is that there are Celsius cans out there that are not filled, and Celsius is the caffeinated beverage, not filled with the caffeinated beverage. They're actually filled with alcohol instead. Yeah. So the Celsius Astro Vibe energy drink, sparkling blue raspberry edition with a silver top. These were shipped to Florida, New York, Ohio, South Carolina, Virginia, and Wisconsin from July 21st to 23rd, have alcohol in them.
That's
so
crazy.
It's almost like the old school Four Locos, except not, because the old school Four Locos intentionally had, alcohol and an energy drink, which was like
a crazy combo.
Was an insane combination. Lethal. They took it off the shelves because it was killing people. So the topic that's come up with this news story is, does this create a dream scenario for a criminal defense attorney? Does a defense attorney say, oh, wow, I can't wait to call the prosecutor's office and say, hey, no, my client just drinks a lot of Celsius. There's no way he was DUI. The answer is no.
Yeah.
This falls apart. It doesn't pass the laugh test. The truth of the matter is that involuntary intoxication is not a defense in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
So what that means is that because you didn't know you were consuming something that was an intoxicant, does that absolve you of the current crime? The answer is no.
Yeah.
So would this be an interesting take to say to a prosecutor?
Definitely.
Hey, yeah, it'd be a fun take, but the odds are very low that you would get a case thrown out because of this.
Yeah,
this specific
because
issue.
There's really we were talking about it. There's no intent element. There is that the state has to prove normal faculties are impaired or your BAC is 0.08 or above. Mm-hmm. So if there's no intent element, then obviously involuntary intoxication, obviously as well, is not a a defense in this case. So unfortunately, for people who drink the Celsius Blue Raz between July 21st and 23rd, if they
whenever they came down, if you are drinking from the silver topped can, the silver top Celsius can,
and we'll share that here.
We'll share a picture of that so that you can see it. If you're drinking one of those in one of those states that we mentioned, then there is a good chance you're drinking High Noon instead of Celsius.
Yeah. Imagine drinking two of those before work or something.
I don't know do people drink multiple Celsius? I don't know.
I drink multiple coffees.
Someone out in the comments can tell us if they drink multiple Celsius.
Let us know if it tastes like High Noon if you drink it.
Yeah, pretty good. Well, that's everything that we have for this episode. Thank you very much for listening. Remember to follow, like, subscribe anywhere that you can, anywhere that you get your podcasts.
Yes. And you know, our handle is comebackwithawarrant.pod on all platforms. So make sure you tune in and follow, like, subscribe, like Brandon said. But yeah, thank you for joining us, and come back with a warrant.
Come back with a warrant. Thank you very much.
Are high-interest credit cards or personal loans weighing you down? Unlock gives homeowners a smarter option. With a home equity agreement, you can tap into your home's equity for cash today. There are no monthly payments. Here's how it works. Unlock provides funds upfront and, in exchange, shares in a portion of your home's future value. That means you keep control, with the flexibility to use your equity your way. Pay off bills, invest in home improvements, or set aside savings for peace of mind. For thousands of homeowners, Unlock has been the key to moving forward without the pressure of another payment. Put your equity to work for you. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.